Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
This is episode 191, recorded November 17th, 2024.
Who the hell do you think you...
Gruesome Magazine.
My name is Jeff Mohr. Oh, answering your question. My name is Jeff Mohr. On this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we'll discuss the monster spirit, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. With me this week are my incredible co-hosts. First up is Chad Hunt, co-host on Decades of Horror, this, that, and the other one, and director with Wreak Havoc Productions, producer too, and comic book artist and writer, Chad.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing? AKA the Thing, or the Punisher, or the
creature.
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
How you doing, bud?
Multi-personality, I guess you'd say.
Which one will we meet today?
Captain Caveman. No, that's...
Also with us is Daphne, who is awesome, stupendous, and likable as hell. How you doing, Dave? Daphne?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah, Davey, how are you?
My mouth and my brain just aren't connected. Glad you're here. Also with us, last but not least, is Doc Rotten, Captain Caveman.
Embarrassing. Yes,
how you doing,
I'm here. I'm good. Talking about a fun movie. Fun little, often forgot about little film, obscure. Nobody's really heard of it.
Okay.
Not at all, beloved or anything like that.
No.
And by the way, Decades of Horror, Gruesome Magazine are partnering with Playdown Media on several of their channels. The Classic Era is on the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel, the Classic Horror Movie Channel, and the Wicked Horror TV Channel. They've upgraded all their apps, so go check them out. You might be surprised at some of the stuff you find here. I find stuff there. In fact, our next movie, it's the only place I can find it streaming, I think. But we'll talk about that later. So anyway, check them out. You don't have to subscribe. You don't even have to give them your email address if you don't want to. But if you want to, you can subscribe, and you can pay a fee if you want to see all the content without ads. So do it. On this podcast.
Do whatever the hell you want on there.
They got good stuff, for sure.
So on this podcast, we start by giving some basic details of the film we're covering, followed by each of our first impressions of the movie, and then we'll move into the general discussion of whatever trips our trigger, hopefully related to the film. And there is so much to talk about in this one.
Is that what the kids are calling it nowadays?
In the middle there, we will talk about taglines as well.
Yes.
So now beware. I want to warn you. If this isn't the craziest poster we've ever seen on Decades of Horror, the Classic Era, I don't know what.
All right.
Our topic today.
Oh my
goodness.
What the
Planet of the Apes from 1968, and that is a Romanian poster.
Oh, wowza.
Oh, that explains it.
I don't know if it does or not, but when you translate those words, it's Planet of the Apes.
Wow.
Planet.
What is that pose behind the bars?
I think that might be.
It's Heston.
Well, it's Heston, but the pose.
It's
that
Heston going, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm naked in front of everybody. See my muscles? So,
That's what's happening.
And she's fainting away. Oh, Charlton Heston.
it's the weirdest poster. Anyway.
I like it, but it
I
is
do too.
wacky.
It's for sale online.
Okay.
Very cheap. Okay, this film, Planet of the Apes, the OG, directed by Franklin J. Schaffner, written by Michael Wilson and Rod Serling, based on the 1963 novel by Pierre Boulle. The cast includes Charlton Heston, Kim Hunter, Roddy McDowall, Maurice Evans, James Whitmore, James Daly, Linda Harrison. Production company Appjack Productions and 20th Century Fox. It's filmed in LA, San Quentin, and California. And just to fill that in a little bit, I just didn't want to put that on all that stuff on there, but it was filmed in some kind of cool locations. A bunch of it was filmed in, I think it was called the Fox Malibu Ranch at that time, but now it's the Malibu Creek State Park in California. Also, the crash scene is in Lake Powell, Arizona or Utah, part of the, it's on the border. Horseshoe Bend, Glen Canyon in Arizona, etc. for some of the forbidden zones. So Vermilion Cliffs National Monument in Arizona. So kind of cool stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I like it. I like all those great locations. Filming dates, May 21st to August 10th, 1967. It was an 11-week shoot, 55 days. Release date, February 8th, 1968, at a New York City premiere, April 3rd, 1968. Nationwide, the budget, $5,800,000. Estimated domestic box office, $32,589,624. So nice return there. After being kept in hypersleep during a long expedition into deep space, an astronaut crew crash lands in the 40th century on a planet where highly intelligent non-human ape species are dominant and humans are enslaved. Yes, that's the one.
As it should be.
I guess. Yes, so, haha. Well, let's go to first impressions right this very minute. Doc Rotten, this was Dick, and he is an avowed Planet of the Apes sycophant.
That's one way to put it. Yeah, we'll put it that way.
Fanatic. There we go.
So cool.
Hi, I am Doc Rotten.
If you haven't noticed, Doc's been slowly trying to convert his face to look more ape. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, this is one of my favorite films of all time. I adored it as a kid. I didn't see it in the theaters. I was too young, but I did see it when it was on the movie of the week. And I don't think I was too young to see most of the sequels. But that didn't matter. They had so much merchandise with this that I loved it. I loved everything that I could find. You know, I had the movie cards. You know, the top cards about the movie. Mm-hmm. I had the Mego figures. I had all kinds of things. I had the comic books when they came out. Never had the earlier ones. I only had the Marvel. Was it Gold Key had some?
Gold Key, yeah.
And then
Charlton or one of those.
Charlton. I never had those. I just had the Marvel ones, but I had the Marvel magazines and the Marvel comics, and which reprinted some of the magazine. But anyway, I even had a trash can with Planet of the Apes on it. Lunch boxes. I had everything you can imagine. Okay. Loved Planet of the Apes.
Hey, back, I got to interrupt just for a second.
Yep.
In that documentary, they're talking about the marketing of this, and Roddy McDowall goes, they had so much marketing on this, they even had a wastebasket.
I had that wastebasket. It was awesome.
That was an example of the extreme.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was my cherished wastebasket. A big, huge fan of Roddy McDowall because of this, but then, seeing him in dozens of films throughout the 70s, more of those films than the previous films that he was in, and of course into the 80s. But anyway, the makeup is amazing. I would draw the Planet of the Apes at school, and everybody knew that I could draw the apes, and they'd ask me to draw a little ape for them.
Oh,
and this film, this series, the original with the original makeup and look is incredibly special for me. I love this film. Jaws, I love more. Sorry, but it is up there, up there with it.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you picked it. We've kind of been sitting on it, waiting. And you know, when you joined us, I thought sure
you pick it right away. Oh, it does hold up though. I was very interested to watch it again. I don't think I'm trying to remember when the last time I watched it, but I watched it this time with a particular eye. Like, does this hold up? The makeup still holds up. It is so. I mean, I know all the secrets and everything, and you know, there's no lip movement that we get now in some of the great special effects that, you know, even not the CGI stuff, but you know, the practical effects. But it doesn't need it. The actors were so expressive because they can see the eyes and everything, and it was, you know, to their face, and it's just holds up so well. The storyline, the costumes, the designs of the city, Ape City, and the first reveal of the apes riding on horseback and Charlton Heston's reaction to it. It's just perfect cinema. And then the first words you hear out of them are taking the picture, smile, which I remember having the Topps card of that, which was awesome. And there's funny little like in jokes in there if you keep an eye. The one probably most people see are the monkey see, monkey do, or not the monkey see, monkey do, but the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil joke. But anyway, I'll shut up. Love the movie. Still holds up. Love it just as much now as I ever have.
All righty. Senor Chad, when did you first see this?
Yesterday. Oh, when did I first see it? That's the last time I saw it. I saw it as a kid at some time. It wasn't in the theater either. I think I was only like 2 or 3 when it came out. But I remember it was on the CBS. CBS played it, and I can't remember if it was movie of the week or whatever. Me and my dad and I think my little brother were watching it, and I was just in awe of it. I was just like, Monkey Planet? What the hell's going on? This is amazing. And my brother's like, this is stupid. You know, and he still doesn't like it to this day, but I thought it was amazing. And the end of the movie, watching it as a kid, blew me away because I didn't get it. I didn't get what was going on until the very end, like a lot of people. And my dad was like, "Yeah, it was pretty good," and he hates everything science fiction. if there's not guys shooting bullets and falling off horses and stuff like that, he wasn't much into it. But he thought that was a pretty good movie, so that helped me remember it a little bit too. But yeah, great! What a great classic this is. Roddy McDowall, Kim Hunter, and all those folks. I remember the best we got in the ape suits up to this point in movies was the gorilla movies like that with Bela Lugosi. But this was leaps and bounds past anything I think we had seen as far as apes in movies are concerned. It looks so realistic and it's so good, you know, and I just love it. I love it. I love the story. I love Charlton Heston's in it with his iconic lines and just good stuff, man. It's just good stuff.
Yeah, excellent. Daphne, how about you? When did you see this first?
I couldn't tell you the first time I saw it, but I'm sure I saw it on TV. I saw it a few times on TV growing up, probably in the summertime or something. But that just the first, just this one, just the first one. And then probably in my late teens or early 20s, I watched some of the ones after it, some of the sequels, and just was blown away by it, and like just kept going to the video store and renting one after the other. Eventually owned the original 5 set in a VHS set. But I love this movie
Yep.
so much. It's so much fun. So I think even as a kid, I loved it because it was just so, like, I hadn't seen really anything like it before. I think the kind of unusualness of it reminded me probably a lot of Twilight Zone, which I really liked as a kid too, because everything was just so strange, but I couldn't quite put my finger on maybe what was going on. And it was just fun, and kind of scary. And I loved, my great grandpa on my mom's side's name is Cornelius, and that's the only time
nice.
time I've ever heard someone called Cornelius. So and I love Roddy McDowell, so that was fun. And watching it again for this, the characters that are in these movies are so good. The story is great, but the characters are just written well, but the actors bring so much life to them. And I loved both hating Charlton Heston's character, but also relating to him and kind of seeing the I don't know, the duality maybe that he was dealing with. Such a fun movie. And I hope that eventually they all get talked about because they're all very, very good in different ways. But yeah, I love it. I'm so glad we got to watch it, and I had another opportunity to watch it.
Yeah, Charlton Heston's Taylor is quite the dick at the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Yeah.
Like when he's talking to Landon, just
he is kind of throughout the whole thing, but you kind of you understand a little bit. And even if I don't like him, I think the character is a great character, and he's and especially at the end, I appreciate more once you kind of get over the crazy over the top delivery of some of the lines. It's like what he realizes at the end, really, it's really a big deal when you think about like the character and his outlook on life, and then finding out the reality. It's such a good movie, so good.
Well, it's sort of the energy that he gives into those lines follows the how hard he laughed at the beginning after they crashed.
Yes.
I'm like, what is the matter with you?
I know, exactly. Everything is just kicked up a notch, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, I actually saw this at the theater.
Ooh,
wow,
cool.
nice.
First run. Because I'm old. I was 14 when this came out.
Oh, perfect.
Ninth grade. I know me and my neighborhood. The buddy that lived across the street went to it. And that was I was dumbstruck. Now we knew there was tons and tons and tons of press about this. So we knew about the makeup, but you still hadn't seen it in a movie yet. It was just supposed to be this phenomenal makeup. But we had no idea about the ending. They managed to keep that under wraps long enough that I was like gobsmacked, basically. I didn't, I thought things like that while we're watching it. Well, where are they? How come everybody understands the language? This is weird. And frankly, the understanding the language just it's just a necessary thing. You just basically had to have it that way, otherwise they couldn't have done it. But I absolutely love it. I think we'll talk about all this stuff later, but the makeup's phenomenal. The music is great.
Jerry Goldsmith, yeah.
The set designs, the costumes, there's several Oscar nominations and one win for this. And again, Heston was perfect. And even though I did not think about the actors at all, I did not think about Kim Hunter or Roddy McDowell. I just saw Zira and Cornelius. So that was I just thought that was great. And I'm fans of both of them. And what's really neat about the makeup, I think you were kind of bringing this up, Doc, I think is, there's not a lot of I can't think of the word I want, articulation in the lips. But you're not looking at their lips really, because their faces are so expressive. Everything is so tied into their facial muscles that when they make muscles, and they did say that they were supposed to like overact under the mask to make sure that things came out. But that's you could see when they're smiling, you can see when they're surprised, you can see it's just so good. Anyway, I love this, and I loved watching this again, and I absolutely think it holds up.
Yay!
So that's it for first impressions. So after that, we usually do something. What is it we do? Oh yeah, it's now time for taglines with Chad.
Who's muted?
He's muted on purpose so he doesn't have to do the chat.
Okay, it didn't work.
These are also the strangest things. These are the longest taglines anywhere. And I want to tell you, out of all the forum posters I found, I didn't try to translate any of the taglines. I thought this is more than enough.
Thank you, Lord.
It is more than enough. There's a lot of taglines. Go for it, Chad.
Okay. Somewhere in the universe, there must be something better than man. In a matter of time, an astronaut will wing through the centuries and find the answer. He may find the most terrifying one of all on the planet where apes are the rulers and man the beast. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. An unusual and important motion picture from the author of The Bridge on the River Kwai. That was just informative.
Hey, if you
like
like The Bridge on the River Kwai, you're going to love this picture about apes 2,000 years from now. Because they're so much alike.
Okay.
I'm not so sure these are taglines, but okay. This is Commander Taylor, astronaut. He's landed in a world where apes are the rulers and man the beast. Now he is caged, tortured, risks mutilation, because no human can remain human on the planet of the apes.
Nice.
you read it like a tagline.
I tried. This is Marcus.
No, no.
Head of security police. His specialties, violence and torture. His mission, to keep man a caged beast on the planet of the apes.
Marcus.
This is Nova, the wild human animal captured and selected for special breeding purposes.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. And
you can do it,
this
Chad.
Is Dr. Zayas, brilliant scientist. Only he has the power to save and destroy the animal called man. 20th Century Fox wants you to go ape.
You're so good at this.
Yeah. Hunted, haunted, wanted, like beasts of prey. Yeah. Man hunted, caged, forced to mate by civilized apes.
Forced to
Almost
mate.
said with.
Oh my God, Force and Mace with. Jeez,
that
would have been terrible. That's a different movie.
Yeah.
I think the original script had Nova getting pregnant, and then they took that out because they just added too much complications. Like if
Gee whiz, Mr. and Mrs. Brady didn't even sleep in the same bed back then. I know that would
that's
have
right.
pregnant women
That's
on here.
right. So that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Cool and rad. He's so rad.
Okay. I want to talk just a minute, and I don't have this for everybody else, but I was looking at the box office for 1968. And depending on, it's weird. I found 3 different lists, and they all had a different order, but roughly the same movies in the top 8. So let's see. On the numbers, number 1 was Funny Girl at 58.5 million, followed by 2001, A Space Odyssey at about 57 million. Then The Odd Couple.
Makes sense.
44.5 million. Bullet. 42.3 million. Romeo and Juliet, 38.9 million. Oliver, which I think won Best Picture, I think.
May I have some more?
37 million. Rosemary's Baby and Planet of the Apes come in at 7 and 8.
What
Wow.
a year.
I was going to say, what an incredible list of films.
I know. Then if you go by, that's by box office. If you go by domestic rentals, Planet of the Apes comes in tied for 6th with Rosemary's Baby. But I was looking at this list and I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute. And I looked at the top 10 from last year. I haven't seen half of them and have no desire to see them. And I look at these and I go, I've seen every one of these. And these are freaking classics. What's going on? Why are maybe they will be in 50 years? I don't know. But I don't think so. All right. So that's my box office thing. I get these little.
That's a cool list of films, though.
It is. I'm not that big into musicals, so Oliver and Funny Girl, but all the rest of them were great. I remember seeing Romeo and Juliet when I was working in the theaters, and I was like, same thing. I was kind of gobsmacked with. I was in love with Olivia Hussey for a while.
Yeah, I saw that in a high school class. I don't think they would show it, but I remember I was blown away. Yeah, I still love that movie.
All right, well, let's take a look at some posters. Well, first, paperbacks or books. So that's the first edition hardcover for the U.S. Planet of the Apes, Pierre Boulle.
Cool cover.
1963. The bottom one is the hardcover in the UK, in which case they translated the title to be Monkey Planet.
Got boobs. Why's it got boobs?
I don't know, but yeah, that's a lot different cover, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at that squiggly
US
hairdo on that one ape. What the heck is going on?
It's like a cartoon thing. And I want to say
does he have a hypodermic needle in his hand?
Yeah, he's gonna. I wonder if the book. This is more in line with the book, probably.
It's possible he does have a hypodermic needle in his hand.
Yeah, because the book is the Ape City is a little bit different than what we get in the movie.
Well, the whole,
as everybody knows. So
yeah, the whole we could talk about that.
Well, I never read the book.
The book is the original book title was La Planète des Singes, which is Planet of the Apes, translated in French. Pierre Boulle, French, in case anybody was wondering. All right. And the paperbacks, the one on the top is the pre-movie paperback put out by Signet.
Good night, Ape. Good night, Planet.
I want that book.
And then the bottom one is the movie tie-in.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of stuff on there with the...
Cheese it. The apes are coming.
Now, an exciting 20th Century Fox motion picture. Blah, blah, blah.
I'd like to find one of those.
With a big... Yeah, I haven't read the book either, which is kind of interesting. It seems like something I would have wanted to read.
I have the version on the lower part, but I haven't read it. I think I started it, but didn't get through very much.
Well, so I haven't read it, but I read through a detailed synopsis. Let's put it that way.
Reader Digest. Yeah.
From what I gathered, it was one of the things was it took place in a technologically advanced society. So they had these funky helicopters and a bunch of other stuff that they just went, that's going to cost too much money.
Mhm.
So let's make it a kind of a retro primitive society. That'll be cheaper. Anyway. Otherwise, a whole lot of what they have in the script in terms of what in general happens is pretty similar. Okay, so poster number 1.
That's the famous one. That's what everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that big
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
wicker cage. And see that tiny print across the top? That's that first tagline you read. I'm like, for some reason, they're just into like, we have to introduce this to people. You know, it's like,
Yeah, I can't. I mean, looking back, this is perfect, but I don't see how this sells the film. I guess the ape and underneath Planet of the Apes does it. Like, wow, look at that. But you know, why the cage? Why is that the thing they chose?
it's like a bird cage kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, then we've got this one, and see those tiny captions above
This is Taylor.
This
This is
is
Nova.
Nova and Dr. Zayas.
So they're not taglines.
Well,
The tag paragraph.
It's on a poster. Those are taglines.
Right.
That sounds like some rule you just made up.
I was gonna say.
I'm looking for the poster that has like a copy of there's text from the book covers the background of the poster.
Forget that one.
Where's the one that goes amazing, spectacular, something you've
Yeah.
never seen in theaters before?
We have men hunting,
apes.
apes,
See chimps, see orangutans,
forced to mate with civilized apes.
see humans.
with again. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's Freudian slip. It keeps getting in there.
There's your one.
Oh,
I like that one.
A little more artsy here, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like fan made, but I like it. I wonder if it's real.
No idea. It's on IMDb, and they didn't. Sometimes they tell you where they come from, but this one they didn't, and I didn't go digging. Wednesday, April 3rd, at a theater near you.
Charlton Heston and the damn dirty apes. That's what they should have called it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious. The damn dirty apes.
That's what they should. Of course, that would take away the when he says that, you're just like going, hell yes.
This is the first time most of the people hear him. Yeah.
First time he talks, yeah. And they're all dumbfounded. And then this is Marcus, head of security, blah, 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 blah. Wednesday, April 3rd, at a theater near you. Oh, that's a tagline. I could use that one.
Oh my gosh.
Whole lots of more fine print at the top. And this time we have all 4 of them: Marcus, Taylor, Nova, and Dr. Zayas.
Why'd they choose Marcus of all people?
I know. I
Where's
was like,
Cornelius?
Marcus.
Playground of the
Zero.
apes.
Playground
I think
apes. That's what
Yeah, I think they thought showing a scientist wouldn't be near as scary.
Put him behind monkey
I know,
paws.
where's this is Zira. It should be Zira.
Oh.
Okay, now some foreign posters. This is the
Whoa.
French/Dutch poster.
It looks French.
And they both mean Planet of the Apes.
Oui, is so sleek and hairless.
Come with us. It'll be a menage a trois.
It does suggest some things that I didn't see in the movie.
I like the colors.
I do too. I like it. It's just when I actually look at it, go, what is it? You go, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's an ape on either side of him clutching his midsection.
What are they doing?
Planet of the perverts.
It's like when you're going up a pole and you're trying to get to the top.
Oh God. All right, moving on. This is the German poster, Planet Darauf, and pretty tame title that, most of these people did not change. They didn't mess with the title. It's
It's
just
the perfect title. Who needs to
it's
change
just
it?
whatever their language is that. and we see some apes. We see Nova and Taylor crouched on the ground in submission.
I can't use Monkey Planet because there's no tails.
Okay, a little faded. Almost looks like an ad. This is
Mhm.
Swedish. Upwardus Planet. Boy, I don't even know why they use these letters because it doesn't sound anything like that. But pretty similar, right?
Mhm.
And now the Hungarian poster.
Ooh. Oh, scary.
Look at Charlton Heston down there.
Is that
I
his
don't
head?
know, but I didn't see anybody get beheaded, but it sure
Yeah.
suggests that, doesn't it?
Well,
You
they
see his
mentioned it a
shoulder
couple
there.
times. Yeah.
And Majmak
Must-
Oh, I see it. I
Boligoja
see it.
is Planet of the Apes. What's that? Oh,
His
there is
shoulder.
an artist.
There's a little bit of a shoulder down there.
Yeah.
But that's
On
the
his-
shortest
his-
arm I've ever seen on an ape before in my life.
Yeah, he's like,
Well, it's cut off.
Planet of the Tyrannosaurus apes.
And a couple Italian posters. Il pianista della.
what?
Speaking of,
Why were they so infatuated with making the little slender shots of the characters? That's so weird.
I don't know. They did
That's
that
a
every
strange
now.
choice.
The one poster on this one just has straight. It's like a collage with
Mhm.
pictures.
this is Nova. She never waters her plants.
But the one down there, the bottom one, and they both.
Those
have
two
the
are
same-
going at it again down at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Mm.
They won't leave him
Shade of
alone.
Blue. This looks like this is what happens after the one from the other poster.
Oh my goodness.
How they forced him down on the ground.
Two apes and one human. Yeah.
And Spanish.
Somebody got that joke. Is it?
Human see, human do.
What do you have to say for yourself now, Heston?
Yeah, that caricature of Charlton Heston is pretty sort of almost devilish. You know, like it's
Well, he's twice the size of the ape. If he stood up, he could take him easily.
I think that
What?
ape might want to be taken.
and then we have a like a lobby card that's got the 5 vertical things and all the text up down the
What
side
the
across
heck?
the top.
So frustrated with that design. So
Charlton Heston with
Grr.
big letters. And
Oh,
then
I remember that Go Ape one. I remember the Go Ape one.
I remember
they
that
did
too.
this is when they really hit with the big marketing campaign. And Daphne, you can hopefully chime in on this, but they talked about the marketing campaign that they thought that was sort of the foundation for all the marketing campaigns to come later.
Yeah, that's what they said in the documentary. That
Star Wars, figurines,
yeah.
comic books,
Uh-huh.
TV shows, you know.
Yeah. Although I don't remember, did they say why? Was it because the producer was into marketing so much, or I mean, what? I can't.
There was
remember
somebody
if
involved
They said
that,
what
like,
caused
When they did the second movie, they just went nuts.
nuts. That's right. Yeah.
They just started piling it in, and they cut the budget. The budget was like
Mhm.
$3 million instead of 5.8, and that's why they had the pullover masks on the crowds. Remember? And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, we did that one on the 70s. We
Yes.
haven't done any of the others yet, but we did do Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
So yeah, it's kind of like Uncle Sam. 20th Century Fox
Yeah.
wants you to go ape with a gorilla reaching out. The 5 movies in blocks across the bottom.
Mhm.
Yep.
Go
Yeah, I
see all
remember.
this. Buy some of our stuff.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then I assume this is from TV Guide. 5 Days of Apes, Monday, Wednesday.
Oh man.
Oh wow! Is that
Yeah.
during the day? That would be like a day one, right? 3:30 movie.
3:30
Yes,
movie.
Mm.
yes. I probably watched all of them on the 3:30 movie.
Oh wow. God. That's better than Clint Eastwood week, I'll tell you that I had to sit through.
Charlton. What should they have?
I love Clint Eastwood.
You know,
Oh. Mm. I like
Well,
the
hey,
spaghetti
no, wait.
western week, but
there's an orangutan in some of those too.
mm. Mhm.
Every which way, but somewhere.
That's a good point.
So the director for this movie, and this is, I really think this is one of those movies that, you know, I assume that everybody, when they start out, wants to make a good movie, but this is one of those movies where they just got the best people.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they turned around, they got the best people. So they get Franklin Schaffner, which I don't know that much about beforehand, but he won an Oscar for Patton.
Next year. Yep. Well, 2 years later, technically. But yeah.
Also did Papillon and The Boys from Brazil.
Yeah. We covered Boys from Brazil in the 70s as well.
We did. Some blockbuster movies. There's a couple other ones in there. Nicholas and Alexandra. He doesn't do a lot, you know. He did a little burst there. Well, I don't know. He did mostly TV up until The Double Man in 1967, followed by Planet of the Apes. Oh, The Warlord. See, that was where they had connected. Heston, he directed The Warlord, and Charlton Heston was in that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Richard Boone and Charlton Heston both with like bowls over their head, haircuts.
No.
And Maurice Evans is a priest. Too cool. All right, won't go too far off astray there, but that's well, you see how these guys get connected. So
yeah,
he was having a hard time. Jump in here, Daphne, because you watched.
Okay, yeah. I was just trying to remember that they wouldn't necessarily have a lot. They made it sound like they didn't necessarily have a lot to go on as far as like choosing him as the director, but that he did such a great job that's what I remember mostly about it.
There was, let me see, the producer, Arthur Jacobs, bought the rights to the book. I thought they said before it came out that he got an advance reading copy. Yeah. And bought the rights at 63. And then went around shopping it, and nobody would pay any attention because gorillas.
Right.
They all pictured what you just talked about, you know, gorilla at large and gorilla, all the gorilla suits from the 40s and 50s.
And then he was really into marketing, or that's like how he came up.
That's
true. How he came up in Hollywood.
He was a publicist,
A publicist, yeah. And he realized, well, I need to get a star to help me sell this, and so he approached Charlton Heston, who was on board. And then like I think you said, because Charlton Heston had worked with Schaffner. That was
Charlton Heston suggested Schaffner.
Because the original directors were J. Lee Thompson, and then Blake Edwards at one point was going to do it,
which would have been weird.
But he was coming off of bigger films and less. I don't know, were they less funny? But was it the? Didn't he do like The Great Race and stuff like that before 1968?
Blake Edwards.
Blake Edwards, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why they would want him, but knowing what he did after 1968, it's such a weird choice.
Operation Petticoat, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Not stuff you would. Not stuff that.
Yeah, and the director Arthur Jacobs.
Pink Panther stuff and 10 and stuff like that.
The producer Arthur Jacobs had done What a Way to Go. Was a movie that he had done. That was his first produced movie after he moved from what did I say, public relations. And then right away, the next thing he did was the Planet of the Apes test reel, and he did Dr. Dolittle, and then Planet of the Apes. And apparently Dr. Dolittle was a disappointment. So right away he goes from talking animals to talking apes. And nobody's listening to him. He gets Charlton Heston. Heston gets Schaffner, and now they get Richard Zanuck to listen to him.
And he was the one who said, "Well, he was concerned about the makeup not being able to be done well enough that people would take it seriously. Instead, they'd laugh at it. So he said, I need to do a screen test, a makeup test, and something." Also about Arthur Jacobs that I thought was interesting was that he had the idea for the for kind of the marketing to get an actor on board with him, a big deal actor that he thought that way, and that he had done that earlier with Marilyn Monroe, who was supposed to be in star in
Which Way to Go?
yeah. Then it was Shirley MacLaine, but so
she died before they made it.
Yeah.
So,
But that's Edward G. Robinson up top there, right?
yeah.
And that's Ben Nye makeup, I believe.
Bill Nye? Cool. No, I'm just kidding. Kidding.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
G. Robinson, and then the two below are their first shot at their version of chimpanzees, and that's James Brolin on the left.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And on the right is Linda Harrison, and they're playing the Cornelius and Zira characters. And they shot this like 5-minute scene with Edward G. Robinson and Charlton Heston in the tent, and then Zira and Cornelius come walking in, and they have some dialogue and stuff. So anyway, and that was enough. They gave him, I think they said Zanuck gave him $5,000 to do that.
Wow.
And so from there, they went on, and Zanuck said, "You know what? I'm good. I didn't laugh."
Nice.
Which, I mean, who's going to laugh at Edward G. Robinson? Just anyway. So then they forged ahead, but Ben Nye, he thought this was kind of beyond him, so he enlisted John Chambers, who was well known for doing lots of crazy stuff, including Spock's ears.
Yes.
But
I didn't know
The
that
Munsters.
I didn't know that he had a background in prosthetics for veterans, and then he moved to Hollywood because he had these skills that he thought
makes
would
sense.
be coming in handy.
Yeah, for prosthetics
so
and
cool.
appliances for injured servicemen. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
cool.
of course, we should say, I gotta interject. Zanuck,
Please.
of course, as a producer, would go on to produce Jaws. Just continue on.
Must be mentioned.
I'm thinking that Zanuck was dating Linda Harrison too, but does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody was. I don't know. Was it Zanuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, and that's actually pretty interesting. So they move forward with John Chambers, and he starts developing. He basically develops this whole new technique, and apparently, I don't know, they made it sound like he had invented a new mix for foam rubber that would breathe and all kinds of other stuff.
So cool.
So there he's the top shot is some of his face cast with makeup on it, and in the bottom, same thing. He's got like the life mask that they've applied makeup to. He's kind of messing with. He's using an airbrush, and that was something else he said that hadn't been common to do that before. But he wanted to try to standardize the colors and stuff of the makeup and use the airbrush. I don't know how that would standardize it, but I'm not that guy.
Probably the look of it and the texture will all
Yeah.
look the same more than the color.
Would they maybe have had to use it more because it was such a high number of folks because they said that it kind of became like a
Assembly line.
assembly line. Yeah. I don't know anything about it. Maybe it would make it easier.
Yeah, he said he
use
taught people how to cook the rubber, and they had them doing it overnight because they had to do hundreds of them. The principals got new appliances every day.
Mhm.
They didn't reuse any of them. All right, let's see. Is that
Because
the
they
one?
probably taking them off. They probably practically destroyed them to get them off
Hmm.
with all the chemicals.
Plus, it looked hot on set. It could,
Yeah.
and the sweat and everything,
Mm.
eat them up.
I think
pretty
that's the
quick.
one with the airbrush, and then there's a shot of John Chambers with Murray Seven. So
Look at that! Look how great it looks with that tilt. You know, where you see the top of the skull, and
Yes.
you see how pronounced the
Mhm.
the jaw is, or the
Yeah.
mouth and
So
nose
cool.
are.
the brows are too. If you get the right
Yeah.
angle, they're really
Oh yeah.
jutting.
But it's just perfect. They did such a great job. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact,
Well, he
right? It doesn't have to be exact.
No,
it just
no.
had to
Mm.
get the impression, and you.
Because
we
who's
talked-
ever seen evolved apes before?
we talked about
Right.
him for
Is it-
another movie, and I can't remember which movie it was about John Chambers.
Hmm.
And that's when I first learned about him, that he actually, besides that, then he did disguises for the CIA.
Oh, I remember us talking about that, but I didn't put that together that it was the same guy. Huh.
And then the
Disguises for the CIA.
movie Argo, that
Mhm.
John Goodman plays him.
Oh, is that part of
He
it?
was
Oh,
he
my
was
God.
the guy they sent over to make it look like they were making a movie.
Huh. Huh.
The true story of that.
Well, looking at his other credits for makeup, of course, some of the other Planet of the Apes, but Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh,
I did not know that. Halloween 2,
Oh,
Oh,
that's probably where we might have talked about him then.
Blade Runner, and then Jaws uncredited. So I don't know.
what the head? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's National Lampoon's Class Reunion. That's obviously probably know that one, but joke.
Island of Dr. It might have been for Beneath the Planet of the Apes. It might have been for Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah,
What's that?
John Chambers.
we talked about him.
Oh, okay.
That's the kind of stuff he would have done. So anyway, good stuff. So here's Kim Hunter having
At the top. Yeah.
makeup on the top, having a makeup applied, and there's Roddy McDowell in the bottom picture, kind of getting close, although the colors aren't quite right yet.
Yeah, it looks like they put like a gray foundation on first.
Yeah.
Because the top one you can't tell because it's black and white, but the bottom one's color. But I don't know if it's just because it's washed out a bit. Maybe it's not quite gray.
Well, they did in that documentary. You can see them; they're like smearing black all over their face.
Is it?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they must be coming in with another color.
Like they would a canvas or something. Yeah.
So here's a sequence with Roddy McDowell showing them, I guess, applying the glue, and then it looks like he only had two pieces. Just the brow nose and upper lip. Doesn't that look like one piece?
One piece there. You got the two ears,
Oh, the two ears.
the bottom jaw,
Yeah.
And then the hairpiece. So we're
the
talking
headpiece.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. It looks great.
Mhm.
And you still see when you look at the far right, there's Roddy McDowell. You still see Roddy
Yeah.
McDowell.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's what's key. And if you've
Yeah.
ever listened to a makeup artist, when you cover the eyes,
Yeah.
you risk losing something because the eyes are what keep it from looking fake, right?
Mhm.
If you see the eyes. And
Exactly.
And there's just something about the whole face, except for the articulation of the lips, is expressive in some way on this one. Now, I think maybe it was on a disc that I have that they were showing makeup and there was no audio. And they showed a guy putting hair on. And besides the wigs, then they had how they blended it and made it look like the wig was hair coming right out of your head.
Hmm.
And there was a guy with a handful of hair, and he put a little bit up there and brush on some glue or something, and then snip it off at an angle, and then snip off the bunch at another angle, and then come back in and just kept doing that up and down the side. And I just, when I visited Dirk at KNB Effects a few years ago, he showed me the room where the women applied the hair to like the zombies. They have my undying admiration. I mean, they're literally like sticking in a hair at a time.
Mhm.
In the now anyway.
Mhm.
So I found that incredibly impressive, that makeup and everything. And the process, he had to design a new material, a new process, and all this stuff. It's just the assembly line. They actually said that other movies got delayed because they used so many of the special effects people
Mm.
in LA at the time. So besides that, we have to come up with a city. Here's some shots of Ape City, which I thought was cool. I forget what his title was. The art director.
Yeah. Made it kind of indigenous to Native Americans or Aztec or something like that. It's really interesting.
He said he went looking for pictures. William Kreber, and he said he found a place in Turkey where some tribe had
oh wow, Turkey, huh?
a city carved into a mountain.
Yeah.
And he showed a picture of it, and it looked quite a bit like this. Only all those shapes would be coming out of a mountain.
Yeah,
but it's so organic, right?
Yeah.
And that helps because it doesn't have, because it's familiar enough to represent what we see, but foreign enough to make it feel alien at the same time. Which is at this time we're supposed to think that we're on a different planet. We're not back on Earth, but so it's I think it's the perfect choice.
I like it now and I appreciate it now, but as a young guy watching it, a little kid watching it, I couldn't get past the fact that these apes had evolved so far and they're still living in holes dug into the making their houses out of mud. I couldn't get past that then, but
yeah. Well,
I've come to appreciate it now.
The cliff dwellers in Southwest U.S.
Don't speak as eloquently as Dr. Zayas.
Well, that's true. Well, we don't know how eloquently they spoke.
You never know.
They had this whole, but they also had this a combination of religion and science, where the religion was designed to repress the science to make sure we are not going to admit.
So just like now,
anything about
Yes.
Well, that's true. We're not going to admit anything about humans because that's going to mess with our whole thing. And besides, we know that humans destroyed the world before, or he apparently has access to information about that other people don't. I don't know. I dug it.
Yeah. The place in Turkey, it looks like it was called Gaudi. That inspired.
Okay.
Inspired the.
They showed a quick picture on that documentary, but not too long. And he called it a something tribe, but I couldn't. I couldn't understand what he said. Just like when I talk to you guys. Well, here's our star.
Well, before we get to the star, can we talk a little bit more about the writers?
I skipped over the writer. Absolutely.
Right. Because we got basically two writers credited, right?
Glad you said that. Yep.
Right. You got Michael Wilson, of course, did the shooting screenplay, and then Rod Serling did the original one, which brought in too many elements of the book, and if I remember correctly, and then they had to kind of bring it back, down so they could shoot it. And then Wilson's biggest contribution to the screenplay was the kangaroo court scene. Courtrooms, I can't speak. Which was which had a lot to do with his experience with the McCarthy witch hunts.
Yeah.
Of the 50s. So it feels that way. So
Totally. Yeah.
But I'd love to. Oh yeah, there you go. I'd love to read the Rod Serling's screenplay. I don't know.
Oh, I know. That would be so interesting to see. And they were talking about, I don't know if it was for this script or if it was for one of the sequels, that Serling wrote like 30 versions of
my
one.
Gosh.
Because he is so amazing. But never quite got it, I guess.
Yeah,
so
but
it's
they just couldn't. I think it had to do with the technology. I think was the big thing. He was he was focused on the book. Although I thought I read that the final scene was one that he wrote.
Wilson?
No,
Or-
that Serling wrote.
Serling wrote. Okay.
Yeah, that's straight out of Serling's playbook. That ending.
Yeah, that's Twilight
Yeah.
Zone. That's such a Twilight Zone ending.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, some of those early, like the chimpanzee versions in the bottom that are really just smoothed up faces with somewhat protruding lips look
Mhm.
like something out of the Twilight Zone. Look like
Yeah.
one of those Twilight Zone,
Hmm.
like Beauty of the Beholder, I think, or.
I wonder if he got pissed off that somebody else wrote it after he did. I guess he got paid. He didn't care, right? It was all business. He seemed to understand the business.
I think I saw a quote from Mike Wilson that said, you should write like they're going to do everything that you say and do the very best you can. Once you give it to them, there's nothing you can do, you know?
Yeah.
And I think Serling probably knew that by then. He had enough experience that you look at Rod Serling's list of stuff, and he starts off, he's writing scripts for all of these, I don't know exactly what they were called, but sort of like anthology shows where it's a whole different cast and story every week. And I think at the beginning of television, they had this idea that, we could take plays to the populace now. You don't have to come, everybody doesn't have to come to New York to see a play or whatever. And so they had all these different playhouse theaters, there was a ton of them. When you look at these writers' credits, it just throwing them out there. Like Requiem for a Heavyweight was a script for one of those originally. All right.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up and mention it because that's fascinates me.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by that.
Well, and Michael Wilson, to go back to him, he had, technically, he had 2 Oscar wins and 3 nominations, although he was blacklisted in the early 50s. And so he was not recognized for any of these until far later. He was a winner for Bridge on the River Kwai, and he did not get it. He didn't get any screen credit because he was blacklisted. And what was the winner? 1952, he won for A Place in the Sun, and I think that was pre being blacklisted. And that starred Montgomery Clift, Elizabeth Taylor, and Shelley Winters. And then also was nominated for Five Fingers. It's Friendly Persuasion, which is a story about a Amish family or a Quaker family, nonviolent.
Super duper. Sorry.
And
Lawrence. I know what I'm going with
there. Lawrence of Arabia. What's that? Super duper.
Gary Cooper. Super duper.
Oh,
never mind. My brain just went south there.
So between the Bridge on the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia, those are 2 of the biggest blockbusters of that era, late 50s, early 60s. So he was a good guy to get to, and they had worked together, right? So Pierre Boulle and
yeah, it seemed like a good choice. Seemed like the right choice, and it appears it was. It turned out well. Turned out well. Dialogue's greatness. I mean, if you read some of the reviews of the time, it's interesting because most everybody liked it, but every once in a while somebody would kind of say that the humor is a little too far. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
That's the stuff, the human see, human do thing, the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, all that stuff I thought was great. The
smile.
Smile, yeah. It was like, and if you're really paying attention, it made you cringe just a little bit, I think.
What's that? What made you cringe?
That people, they're doing the same stupid stuff that people do.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that was the point. That's the commentary. Yeah.
Right. But I love that they, the writing, you look at it and it's obvious on one hand, but it's also very subtle. And even when you listen to people from the time talking about it, you'd have like 5 or 6 people talking about how you're pointing out the political and religious and the satirical stuff. someone would say, oh, it's just a bunch of apes, it's a family show with a bunch of apes having fun and an adventure. It's like,
yeah, it's yeah. I've heard people say the same thing, and there is satire. There's a lot of satire in this on social commentary, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
Lucius alone, the character of, at the time of 68, he is like, he's such a 1968 teenager.
Yeah.
But it kind of depends on who you are too watching it.
Right. Exactly. So
but
it could just be a fun
a
thing,
little
but,
kid going in and watching it's going, yeah, gorillas riding horses, cool.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But definitely with the prejudice and the caste, different classes and the caste system and the smashing down information.
Well, and again, it's like, I love that
the treatment of animals.
Yep. Being vegetarian or not. But I just love that, a genre film, again, like talks about all these really human things like racism and religion and science, and brings all that stuff to the fore and gets it in there without it, making people who probably really should be thinking about it uncomfortable. They can watch it and maybe not realize what they're seeing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the writers did an amazing job with that, because it's a fun movie, but this definitely says a lot about a lot of different things. And the blacklisted scriptwriter, that scene and the court is a intense scene, just because he can't defend himself against this the religious culture that is being used against him. He has no defense against that, but yet that's what he's being charged with. So there's absolutely no way he could be seen as anything but guilty.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened to Michael Wilson in the McCarthy hearings. Is he refused to name names, and he stood up and started shouting a statement, and they just shouted him down and hauled his ass out.
Yeah. But it
moved to France.
I mean, no one could watch that scene and be like, oh, I mean, you'd have to acknowledge that, well, of course, Taylor's not going to be able to defend himself. That's just all stuff he doesn't know anything about. And it's like, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Heston a lot here in a little bit, but there's a couple scenes I want to point out that really get into illustrating some of these points that they're taking, especially when he's mute. The short period where he can't talk, and Zira comes in and she's handing like cubes of sugar to some of the other ones, and he's just his expression says so much. He's just really appreciate Charlton Heston for his role in this, because there's a number of times in this film where he really has to emote physically, and he's mostly known for dialogue, right? But and then when they bring Nova in for the first time, and they say, "I got you," or not for the first time because we've seen her earlier, but they bring her into the cage and say, "I got you a present," and it's just its reactions, like realizing what this means from the other side of the fence, right? Yeah, and that's what it is, and it's and of course his acting when they strip him down in that scene, the courtyard, the court scene, the expression on his face of being humiliated and embarrassed, it's the reason why one of the reasons why he's the perfect actor for this role.
Yeah, and kind of like I was saying, I'm not used to like seeing him as an actor that could handle those more subtle things, but like the humiliation he felt when his clothes was taken away. I mean, he did an excellent job portraying that, and I really believe that he was playing this guy who criticized and was sarcastic and kind of arrogant about the state of humanity, but then had to defend, and felt personally, he felt all those things he used to be, he would criticize humanity about. So yeah, he did really, really good.
Yeah, he was on the receiving end, and it felt just so different to him. And it's great screenwriting too, and he just overperformed. Let's go ahead and get into Charlton Heston. We've got to pick him up.
No, he's got, and you're right. I was watching really close because he was really acting counter to what all the other humans were acting as she came through. He just stayed back, and you could see like the intelligence in his eyes. And even when someone is saying, "Oh, he's just mimicking you," he would do something that was obviously not mimic. You know, if
You could see his frustration too. I mean, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The contempt that he had for the apes is just came right through as well.
Yeah.
He just hate.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's known for being more of the actor. I remember as a kid, because as a kid he was Moses and he was Ben-Hur, you know, and those are bigger than life, big, you know, they weren't known for subtlety for like this one, or at least not from my point of view. This is the first time I've realized the subtleness of this.
And he's all of his lines are famous for coming out like this.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
But
it's a great.
He was El Cid too, I think. But.
Yeah, El Cid. Yeah, but it was a great way to give the apes a chance to take over the story for a short bit, because you know, it was Zira coming in and kind of introducing Cornelius and bringing that in. So it's pretty smart screenwriting.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's how the book handled it. I imagine it is, but it really carries the film, transitions well. So.
I forgot he had a small part in The Mouth of Madness.
Yeah,
really.
He was the publisher.
He was
right?
Sam Neill's publisher. Yeah, not Sam. Yeah, Sam Neill. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
his character.
really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, in The Office. Oh, that's right. Oh man. Yeah.
Now I did find out. I didn't know this beforehand, but he had the flu during a lot of the shoots, and I wonder if that was one reason why he's muted. I doubt it, but I wonder if that. But they encouraged him to go ahead and act because it gave him a rougher voice, and they liked it. So.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, they said he was really sick when they shot this scene, and it was when they were doing the scene with where they capture him in the net, and he screams through the net, "Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty apes!"
Oh man! As a kid, seeing that scene, it just felt so powerful. That scene, it just felt so boom right in your face. Oh man, loved it.
Yeah. I feel like even if you didn't understand, like when you're a kid, even though you didn't understand kind of like what that meant, like, but just you could tell from how he acted and also how the apes acted that you're like, whoa,
and
this
the
is
music,
serious. Yeah,
and the music. Jerry Goldsmith.
Yeah.
Oh, the music in this is so awesome,
Yeah.
and it's so weird at the beginning. You know, with it's kind of almost. Well, it's almost alien at the beginning, which is interesting, right? But then it gets into more of a straightforward score. By this time, it just roars at you when this happens.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, it goes a little light too. It was, you know, Dr. Zaius is sort of his, you know, he threatens him with a lobotomy and castration, but he's the one that ends up letting him go and protecting him. Because I'm thinking, you know, imagine a riot. It's 1968. You know, 67, 68. Imagine a riot somewhere where a black person would have called, you know, I don't know, like a Southern cop would have said that to a Southern cop with that much vehemence. What would have been the response? I don't know what that would have been, but it wouldn't have been.
Yeah, it was better for him as a political move. It's such a political character, Dr. Zaius, because it was better for him to let him go and leave than it was for him to do anything else with him, because it's just risk another shot of him getting free or risk another shot of him, somebody else, you know, finding out the truth. Just let him get set it free, get out of here. Because he can handle Zira and Cornelius, because like Zira says, his culture is our culture. No, that was Cornelius said his culture is our culture. So,
well, and you could see that politicalness also in the trial where Zaius is just like, let him talk, let him speak. He's like, you know, he was letting them give the story that he may have knew was somewhat true, but knew that no one else would believe it.
It'd be too far-fetched. Yeah.
He was like, let him talk.
sometimes the truth is sounds the furthest thing away from it, doesn't it?
Well, it's surprising what his career. I mean, he was in one of the most famous film noirs called Touch of Evil.
Yes.
1958. It was directed by Orson Welles and stars Heston and Wells and Janet Leigh. That's a crazy one about border towns, and that's got a definite touch of racism in it. I always think of him in terms of I think of it as kind of a science fiction trilogy. This one, Soylent Green, and Omega Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're all in this like 5-year period or whatever.
Yeah. All very, very good shows.
Yeah, except, well, Omega. I love Omega Man, but it wasn't as successful as the other ones.
No, yes, exactly. But I still love it. I still enjoy it.
But coming into this, he was at the top of his game, right? He had come off a decade of very high profile films. He was
it's amazing
worldwide star. So it's
he plays Michelangelo in The Agony and the Ecstasy. He's Major Dundee in this great Western. I mean,
John the Baptist and Curious Story Ever Told.
Yep. Cartoon, Will Penny, which is this dramatic thing about a cowboy. He's just in.
And he comes in here to do Planet of the Apes with George Taylor, which we never really hear George. We only hear him called Taylor, though.
Yeah.
Right. They said that. Who was it said that? Was
George even mentioned at all in the movie? I don't think it was.
So.
No, but that was the name of his character. Was it? He always said Taylor. But I mean, first time I saw him in the theaters was with Earthquake.
Oh, okay.
It was the first time I went and saw one of his films in the theater because I didn't get to see Soylent Green in the theater. But I might have seen Three Musketeers, but he didn't have the big role in that. He had a role, but not the big role. But he was the star of Earthquake, and oh man, I loved Earthquake.
Yeah.
Earthquake was such a big film for me growing up. Airport 75, saw that too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they said we haven't talked that much.
Midway.
Midway. Yeah.
Yeah. The setup of the show, how they start with the crash, and that was another thing. The shooting the crash from the point of view of like a pilot or the ship itself saved them a bunch of money, but it was effective, I thought.
Oh, it
made you very
kind of found footage, didn't it?
Feeling. Yeah.
Yes.
And then their trek across the Forbidden Zone was apparently that was rather grueling, even when they filmed it. They were doing like days and days of filming, and the one guy who plays Dodge fainted once from the heat. And,
I could see it.
But why are you doing all this? The producer's like, no, we're spending all this money. So I'm trying to establish what it takes to get there, what it was like, and the change once you cross in there, and then that violence breaks loose when the apes attack them. And that's just an amazing scene.
It is. But I mean, even getting there when they find that one plant and they all are there and they're like, where there's one, there's another and another and another, and it's just this dandelion looking thing, and there, but it has it just represents so much hope. And then of course they're deathly afraid of big boulders. That's hilarious. That scene kills me, not for good reasons, because it's a silly scene when there's like one big boulder and one little rock come down and they run and they run and they run and they run.
What are the odds?
It's like you are already away from the rock, but
I was waiting for the sandworms.
Oh my gosh. But and the scarecrows always looked cool.
Yes. Oh my god.
And
so creepy.
When I looked at it this time watching it, because they show it when they show it, there's a close up of one. It looks like it's ape fur.
Yeah.
Around the scarecrows.
Yeah.
It's to scare away humans. That's not.
Or is it okay?
Well, I that's the way I took it, or maybe it's to scare away whatever might be coming from the Forbidden Zone.
All right. Well, I don't know if it was for the humans or for the apes, because
Yeah.
why would apes put their own skin out there? I don't know. That
Right,
would be weird.
right.
Yeah. Because
But
no one's supposed to go in the forbidden zone. So I could
Right.
see it being either,
But it was so
so creepy.
striking, right? It's so striking. And then when you see like their little, when they're going through the valley, right? And you see the rocks and you see the little human heads go by real quick, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
somebody's there, somebody's there.
Yeah.
And
That
they
was
steal their clothes and they reach up out of the screen and pull their clothes.
so funny. Well, that was something that I really got my attention this time, was kind of some of the shots and the cinematography, like starting with how they show the landing of the shuttle. I just like how they had the vision from inside the spaceship. And so that's how they portrayed that landing, that really violent landing. I love that view. And then also the part that you're talking about when they're walking along and it's shot like through a hole in a rock or from some other angle where you can see just a little bit of movement on the top. So you can't quite tell what's moving, but something's moving. And I just appreciated that. And then especially after learning about how they didn't have very much money, the little ways that they kind of made it interesting without having to spend a lot of money, just with the different, visual language and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool.
And there's, you know what? There's also scenes where there's a hell of a lot of dialogue that sometimes I would have thought, that's getting too talky, but it was fascinating. I thought the way they were trying to communicate, and you had Cornelius had one point of view, and Zira had another, and Taylor had another, and they were all, and then Zayas, you throw in his point of view, and it really made for interesting counterpoint type.
Yeah, like the fell out of the sky. No, flew. Flight isn't a possibility. And where would you go? And he
where would you go?
And he throws the plane. It's just it was such a simple but yet powerful scene.
And then Zayas says, "What's this?" And they said, "A child's toy."
And he just crunches it. And he knew what it was. He knew what it was. The bugger, lion, orangutan.
So here's Zira on the left, Kim Hunter, who won an Oscar for Streetcar Named Desire, and is also the lead on The Seventh Victim, one of my favorite Luton flicks. She was the female lead on that.
Wow.
Oh, that's right.
And I think it might have been her first movie, first or second.
Oh.
Wow, look at her credits. She's got enormous amount of credits.
Oh, that's right. She was also in a Columbo episode.
Of course.
Suitable for Framing. That's the episode. Anyway.
Is that the title, or you just really like it?
Yeah, no, it was the title of the episode, but yeah. I got to go back to Seventh Victim because, she was the main character, Mary.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look at her. Wow.
But her character is great here.
That was her first credit. Yeah.
She really shines as Zira in Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Hmm.
I mean, Escape from the Planet.
Yeah.
It's just because it focuses on her and Cornelius in our present.
Oh, right. When they travel back in time.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And she just, oh my God, that's really powerful for her there. But I loved her here. Don't get me wrong. Here she's absolutely brilliant. And our three lead apes are important for this film to succeed as well.
She said that people asked her, aren't you, like people don't get to see you, that it's you. And she was like, I don't care. It's an interesting character. I just thought, I read the script and thought, oh, this is fascinating. And
she was like, I don't want you to see me. You're supposed to see the
hey, you're supposed to see Zira. Hey.
Wasn't too thrilled with the 3 or 4 hours of makeup that he goes through every day, and disaster it created with your skin with having that glue on your face every day.
But she did the character is great, and she did, I don't know if it was character, the writing, or her acting, or both, but Zira is strong and smart, and her relationship is equal with Cornelius, and I mean,
And they don't have to agree. I love that they don't have to agree, but yet
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that they're fighting.
Right.
I
Exactly.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
I
they're
love those
they're
things.
like two scientists discussing things together. They respect each other's opinion. And I love that she sent her nephew in to help him escape. That's totally an awesome aunt thing to do. I hope I have the opportunity to do that with one of my nephews.
Lucius was such a perfect teenager.
Yeah,
Just
Lucius.
Oh my God.
typical adult.
I know, typical.
And what's even better is how Taylor reacts to him so much differently
Right.
than he reacts to every single other
Right.
ape, other than maybe Zira.
Right.
He just there's something about what he sees in
Yeah.
Julius, right?
Lucius.
Lucius is
yeah.
another one. Lucius, yeah.
Julius is the gorilla guard. And the,
Yeah.
Right. But Lucius,
Yeah.
he
It's almost like he can relate to Lucius, or he has kind of like a not patronizing, but like a
was an
a
aberration.
fathery-
Temper.
fathery-
Yeah.
kind of a thing. Yeah.
Because what do you think? Because when he talks about, the making your flags fly, and he goes, "What flags?" The flags. I forget what the flag was. He's thinking.
Well, they were reasonable. They were where the other apes are all this sort of this fascist
Mhm.
society or whatever. These were reasonable. He could reason with Cornelius and those two.
Mhm.
So it's I think that's why he was drawn to them more. They were, I guess, what you call today critical thinkers.
Yeah.
Critical thinkers.
Yeah.
And as much as I love the Ape City part, I love when they're in the cave that Cornelius was excavating, and in the scenes there where that group in there looking at all these artifacts, trying to figure out what they are. Everybody having a different opinion of what they are. Of course, we know that Taylor has the right opinion, but
but I also liked how Zaire said I could come up with any sort of reasonable thing. So it's just like,
and he's right. Zaire is right.
Religion and all that. Yeah, I know.
And they're going to listen to whatever he says.
Yeah, because he's got the power. Yeah.
Until they have would an ape make a human doll that speaks?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the one on the right there is Roddy McDowall as Cornelius, and he actually, the first Roddy McDowall movie we covered was episode 6 of Classic Era. It.
I love Roddy McDowall.
Oh, he's so, oh my gosh. He has such a range. He can really project too when he really needs to. And that range I think comes into play here because you have to overact because of the makeup, but you can't overact.
Right.
And our 3 leads do that.
It's got to be in the face, but not in the voice so much.
Right.
Yeah.
And he gets so good at it throughout the films. Of course, he's not in the second one, but in the rest of them, and the TV series, and a spot on Carol Burnett.
Did you guys ever think, watching this at any point, that the hierarchy, like Zaius and the rest of those guys, could advance the civilization more, but it was easier to keep control of everything if they just kept the technology from getting out of hand? And because apparently Zaius knew it's a child's toy.
Yeah.
Apparently Zaius is aware of some concepts and stuff like that. But I always wondered, are they keeping that suppressed to keep better control?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But,
yeah. I mean, I think Zaius almost says that, practically says that when he's talking about the scrolls and everything toward the end.
I don't think I became aware of it as it was happening, but yeah, towards the end, you're like, aha, this is, keeping them back out of the sphere of what he knows is coming. Yeah.
Well, but in Escape, don't they find another ship and refurbish it or something? Or
I think they just refurbish the old.
Do they do Taylor's or do they do?
I thought they did Taylor's.
Maybe Franciscus was pretty busted up. Maybe they put them together.
Well, they did. Yeah. They do have. I noticed that. Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that because I paid attention to watching it this time, and they have a pretty. It's not long, but there's a conversation between Taylor and the chimpanzees, the 3 chimpanzees, about the ship, where it is, what they'll find when they get there. They'll find the flag, and they'll find the the raft,
That's right.
and they knew where it would be.
Mhm.
So it was
True. He
you
does
know,
tell him, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Now getting it out of that lake, I don't know how they did
Yeah.
that, but and how do they repair all the broken stuff? I don't care. It
Mhm.
doesn't
Right.
matter. They use it. We'll just let them do it. They were scientists, so
Yeah.
So the third picture down is Julius, I think, on the left.
I think so too.
The
Yeah.
guard in the cages, and he's played by Buck Cartalian, which I don't know that much about. And he's just kind of a typical.
Yeah. Typical.
Typical prison guard that doesn't really care about the people. Water hose and laughs about it.
He takes a club to the head pretty well, though.
Yeah.
Oh, he does.
It does. You were talking about Roddy McDowell and how good he does here. I just love how he progresses in the series, and because one of my favorite characters, other than like Cornelius and Zira, is Caesar. And he plays Caesar, and oh my God, so good. So it's so cool to go back and just get a lot of Cornelius here, and then just think, how he stays with it, and he ends up playing Caesar later. It's so good.
That's one of the things at the end when they're in the caves, and they find the evidence, and they're walking out, and they're going, "Oh, we'll be all right because now we have the evidence." So Zaya says, "We won't get tried for heresy," and I'm going,
"Oh man,
excuse me."
I know it felt so betrayal. Oh my gosh!
It's like, you guys, come on, haven't you been paying attention?
That's the kind of thing I would have said in like 1968. Well, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff.
Enough stuff has gone on with the government that like going, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So he did play 3 different apes: Cornelius, Caesar, and Galen on the TV show.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was in the TV show. I definitely didn't see all of them. I maybe only saw 1 or 2 episodes. What was there? It was only
one season. Yeah. 14 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even get a.
Speaking of which,
the last 10 for the 24 that you get.
Was Planet of the Apes on right before Kolchak? Because on the documentary,
we'd have to look at our thing and see.
On the documentary, it said it went up against Sanford Son and Chico and the Man.
Chico and the Man, yeah.
Well, it had to have been because Kolchak played against those
later.
After it moved to an earlier time slot, right? Yeah. So that's probably why they.
Well, that might be why I watched it. Although I knew I was going to watch it.
We were looking at the time slots when we did the 74 stuff. So.
Interesting.
Buck Cartalian, I can't stop. He was in Octoman.
Octoman, oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's enough.
some kind of important information got pushed out of my brain so that could come in.
I'm sorry,
but I can't remember what it was.
Go back to where you were. Well, so.
Oh yeah, my son's name is Sean. That's right.
That seems about right.
Hey, you kid, you.
So the guy at the bottom is Dr. Zayas, and that's Morris Evans. And originally, Edward G. Robinson was going to play that role, but when they went when they gave it to him, he just said, I got to back out. I can't do it. My heart's shot. I can't take that amount of makeup and acting in that stuff all day long. I just can't take it.
Yeah, I heard he just didn't want to shave his beard.
Well, that might be true.
That's what I heard.
That's what I heard.
I'm being serious right now. I heard somebody else on the cast said he told them he didn't want to shave his beard.
Well, Heston said what I just said, I think. I think it was Heston.
Do you know some of the other actors that were considered before they do you want to hear?
Evans?
For the
Sure.
Yul Brynner, Jose
Really?
Ferrer, Alec Guinness, Edmund O'Brien, Laurence Olivier, I guess I should say Sir Laurence Olivier, Sir Peter Ustinov, and Orson Welles.
Hmm.
I think they
Yeah.
made the right choice.
He had the perfect accent and enunciation of
Mhm.
being that character. Wow, it's just
Yeah.
so good.
Maurice Evans. Yep.
And I guess
Well,
he
you
was
know, all of those orangutans are pretty smart.
Orangutans. Oh my.
Orangutan.
Are we not going to talk about any of the Batman connections? Because we just whizzed by a couple actors that were in Batman.
okay.
Hit me with it.
Well,
I got my Columbo. I do have a couple more Columbo, but
well,
you
this is for Chad. This is for Chad. Maurice Evans was the puzzler in 2 episodes. The puzzler, Chad. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. The
and who was Roddy McDowell?
bookworm.
Bookworm.
Bookworm. A bookworm, the lamest of all.
The ones the studio came up with were the worst villains, except for King Tut. Victor Buono was really good as King Tut.
Yeah, it's King Tut. But yeah, I'm sure
The
there's
bookworm
other.
is-
They're always in at least 2 episodes because they had like 2
One
episodes.
continuing, yeah.
Yeah, because they did the comic book thing where it was in the next issue. Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Maurice Evans was also in Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh.
And he was
Yeah,
in The Warlord. So there's another, there's all these connections. Yep. I like it.
It's a small world after all.
He does return for Beneath. He does return for Beneath. Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
And Columbo.
He's friggin' great in this. And whatever he says, everybody just believes him. He just has that air of he's like, I think they call him the one. It's like he's the #1 guy, right? I mean,
He's the dude, yeah. He has all the scrolls. He's the scroll master.
Mm-hmm.
the Scroll Master. Okay, well, let's take a look at
with the 3 tenors.
these are the 5 across the top. Linda Harrison. And you know what? Linda Harrison does a good job, even though she doesn't have any words. She's and I think she said she was brand new. She was taking like an acting class or something at the time, and she just tried to act like they were supposed to be animals. So she tried to act that way, be kind of wild. And
it comes across like when they capture her and she's in the net, she's just like going like crazy to get out. And then my favorite scene of hers is when they take Taylor out and she's at the and they keep banging at her and she goes back and she just jumps right back up.
That was a really good scene. And I also, because you heard other of the humans like shaking the bars, and the way she did it, I don't know, I just felt like it was really from stress,
Right.
she was really good.
So the bottom picture is the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And these are the 3 guys in the tribunal. So the guy in the middle is James Whitmore.
James Whitmore, them.
And
Is that the right one? Is that the right one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I recognize his voice from that. And then Dr. Zayas is on the right. The one on the left
Pookie.
is say it again.
Pookie.
Cookie.
Pookie.
Pookie?
Never
There's a joke.
mind.
There's a joke in there somewhere, folks. I don't know what it is, but
His name is Woodrow Parfrey.
I was close.
you were close. You were closer than I thought you were.
But if you look him up in a picture of him, he's great at playing these sweaty Southern sort of racist. I kept all the time I'm watching this, I'm going, who is that guy? I recognized his facial expressions, I recognized his voice, but I couldn't think who he was. He's got over 200 credits, and he was in Outlaw Josie Whale and Dirty Harry and Papillon. So anyway, if you go and look at his picture, he's a guy I recognize as being in a ton of stuff.
And is this name Dr. Maximus?
Yes.
Jonathan Harris was originally cast to do that, and he had to turn it down.
Oh, okay.
Armas Con.
Okay.
And that scene, I didn't realize this until recently. That scene was ad-libbed. And they
Was
kept
it?
it in
Yeah.
there because tested well, so
Right,
they
right.
kept it in.
Huh.
It's such a great scene. But it is a little on the nose. But
Yeah, it takes you out of the movie for a couple seconds. But
yeah, and I can see where some of the the reviews, the professional reviews of the time could react
It was a
differently.
little.
But I think the people, the crowd, is a crowd.
But
pleaser.
yeah,
Yeah.
as a viewer, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
was kind of breaking the fourth wall. You know?
A little bit.
We're playing along with the joke.
Mhm.
But it was excellent. It's one of those things you love now.
And okay, there's something else we'll talk about later. Keep going.
No, I like it. And then the guy that played sort of the prosecutor, I guess, Honorius was James Daly, who you'd recognize if you saw his face.
Is he James Daly? Is he from? No, that's somebody else. He's not from Dukes of Hazzard, is he?
No,
That's a different James.
no.
Who's James Daly?
You're thinking of
I am thinking
Yeah,
of.
okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's a Star. I see him from Star Trek. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Star
yeah.
Trek.
Oh my god.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Combat. So they got great actors to play these speaking parts. They really did.
Mhm.
That really put that forth. And I imagine, I don't know, Kim Hunter didn't seem to know what she was in for when she said yes. They sent her out to LA and she thought she was going out for wardrobe, and they take her right into John Chambers and make a full life mask of her.
Oh my goodness.
That's not what I thought I was here for.
That's insane.
And then practice makeup on her. That takes 4 hours.
So if you guys, okay, I'm going to say it because if I don't say it now, it's going to be just in my front of my head until we talk about it. But there's a scene where Charlton Heston, top left up there, he has a nude scene, a bare butt nude scene. This is a G movie. This is
Yeah.
only one of 2 films ever to have nudity in a G movie. This one and
Oh, wow.
yeah, this one and The Bible in the Beginning
Wow.
are the only ones.
I remember I was surprised that it was a G rating. I wasn't
It
necessarily
feels like a
thinking about the
PG,
new
right?
thing.
Yeah.
yeah. I would
Just
think
like
the violence alone would raise the
Exactly.
PG.
Yeah.
Well,
But I
they're,
did-
they're pretty straightforward about breeding and stuff, although there's no activity that looks like that.
Well, they show the effects of lobotomies or something
Yeah.
very close to it. They have the one guy show up stuffed in the museum.
that was another
Yeah.
one.
I mean, it's like
Chambers,
this is definitely a PG-13 movie. PG movie.
John Chambers said, it's important to get the small stuff right, and he looked in medical books for what lobotomy scars look like. Anyway,
Because that was a powerful scene when he finds
Yep.
him in the crowd and he turns him sideways and he's got that
Yeah.
big U-shaped, upside down U-shaped scar on his head. And
Yeah,
the
and when he
anger that
finds-
feels, yeah.
Yeah. And then when he finds his other partner in the museum stuffed. Yeah, that was intense.
the crash.
Sure.
Yeah, other stuff you want to talk about? The crash. I
Going.
thought that was great.
Going,
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Well, I loved when the blow the hatch and the hatch blew off. I bought every part of that.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that, but as far as I'm concerned, that was real. I don't know if they had a full size thing or not. They said the sinking was a miniature with a matte painting.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. Yeah.
And speaking of which, who's the Amo Koza, I think, was the lead matte painter, the head matte artist. So anyway, yeah, and then the 2 guys get out and they climb in the raft and they throw stuff out and they pull it in, and then Charlton Heston jumps out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just
The
like
little metal backpacks.
a lot of movies. It seems like now they'll they'll show one guy jump out, and then the next cut will be all three of them in the raft or something, and something about showing that step by step.
Well, he also had to be important because Taylor, when he's leaving, because he leaves last, he sees the time, and you get to see the 3,000, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's an important shot. So,
Mm-hmm.
because then he hides that from him for a little portion of the film until he finally tells him.
So these are just some shots from the hunt.
No, there's the guys again.
They're starting to round them up. They got a pile of dead bodies they're posing in front of. They've got Taylor strung up on a pole that they're going to throw him in the back.
And it starts out interesting because we have the capture scene, but then we're just looking at the field and we're seeing this little boy bouncing just a hair above the corn. But when he comes out, he's on the shoulders of the ape, and it just reminds you where you are.
Right.
You hadn't,
Yeah, that was interesting.
And then when as he keeps walking past, you see the guys hanging upside down and everything's like, oh my gosh, this is gruesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen that in some horror movies.
Yeah, but we don't know they talk yet, and you don't hear them talk, until they do the camera scene, and of course Taylor passes out right then.
Yeah,
and that's all we get. But wow,
that's the way the whole thing starts. The people. They see the people, and then the people all of a sudden all freeze and look in one direction because they're much more attuned to this stuff.
Well, the
howl. And then you see the beaters coming through with the big poles. Smashing the corn and herding them in a direction. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the flanks and the guys at the end, and they herd them all up. And anyway.
Man, but I remember seeing that for the first time. It still feels fresh. Mm-hmm. When you see it, even though it's going to happen. I mean, it's Planet of the Apes, the title of the movie. You see the apes on the poster, but when the three of them come running, in the horses, and they turn around and you see them, and then you see that shot at Heston realizing what they are. They haven't even spoke yet, but it's just so. Oh my God!
He's riding the horse, and he's got
and they're wrangling humans. It's because they were thinking they were going to be if this is the best they got, we're going to rule this planet in a couple of weeks. And whoops, maybe not. Maybe not.
That's to me that's the trek across the Forbidden Zone, which there's nothing happening for the most part. Little things happen, but it's important.
Exposed.
It's important, and then the hunt is a pretty long scene, and that's important too. That really sets what's going on too. I don't know. These just a few shots of cages. Now the middle one where Taylor's hung up in a net. I think that's shortly after he screams out the
get your stinking
paws.
Yeah. Damn dirty.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
like strawberries.
When I was a kid and I saw that, I was less than 10 years old, and that was the first time my dad did not yell at me if I said a curse word.
Damn.
I could say damn if I was quoting this movie. Because he thought it was funny. But I couldn't say damn any other time. But I can say it then. At least at that point.
Well, it was interesting how they did this. So they had these cages inside the building. Then they had this thing on the outside, which to me kind of reminded me of like a bird cage. It's not up in the
jungle gym.
Yeah.
It looks like you could just reach down and lift it up and crawl on there.
Since you mentioned that, how did they make the city? I thought was interesting as hell. The guy was saying that what was his name? Kreber, the art director, said he called it pencil rod steel. So like re-rod or rebar that's thin, like on cattle panels and stuff.
Yeah.
They bent that to make to form the shapes. And then they put cardboard over it. And then they blew out spray foam from the inside. And then peeled the cardboard off from the outside, and they had smooth. Then they had to go in and finish sculpting it and stuff. But I just
it's really
kind of
cool.
like what Disney does.
Yeah.
So here's the ending shot as they get left to go walking down the beach, and you have this. That's another thing I thought was cool. So that the bottom shot where you see the statue sticking up out of the sand, that's Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But the top shot, they actually built, like, what did they say, Daphne? Like a 60-foot scaffold.
Yeah, 60 or 70. Yeah.
And built these
Uh-huh.
little pieces to catch the corner, to catch an overhead shot.
Oh my God. What is such a great reveal, because you kind of know what it is, but you're like, wait a minute.
What is
wait
that?
a minute.
Yeah.
That looks, what is
Yeah.
that?
Well, because right before that, they're showing, they're looking over the cliff and you're seeing other stuff kind of in the foreground. And you get this torch and it looks, what the hell is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't, okay, you think about it, it doesn't make sense because of where that damn thing is and where it ends up.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's still so powerful. It's such a great
where it is
way.
And where it ends up.
Yeah, I mean, because isn't it on an island?
It is, but who knows?
But they're not on an island.
2,000 years from now.
Well, that's true. Like, everything could change, right? But it is so powerful, though.
Yeah. I know, and I love how like you said, how they introduce it. They do this a couple times in the movie where they just give you a little bit to make you kind of perk up, and then they hit you with it, and there she is.
No, I know it works great for us on the state side, but I guess it works equally well for everybody worldwide because they identify that as our.
Yeah.
Well, in France, they put the Eiffel Tower there instead of the.
No, well, in the book, right?
What? I never read the book.
What are you talking about, Blue Jean?
Yeah, the book, that'd be interesting. Yeah, wonder what they do. So, and this is Doc found this for me.
Oh,
yeah.
My leg. I twisted my ankle.
And you know what? I forgot that he actually says "goddamn." I was thinking he said "damn you all to hell."
Yeah.
In a G movie, by the way.
Again, yeah, crazy.
But
you're allowed one GD in it.
I guess so.
One butt shot and one GD.
You get one naked crack and a butt shot.
That happened in the half from outer space as well, but that's different. But
Heston said that was his first nude scene. I think.
I think he did. Yeah.
Did you hear that story, Daphne?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Yeah, he said, "Oh, yeah." Someone who was like delivering coffee was like, "Ooh, nice buns." That's what he said.
he probably just made that up because he was proud or something.
Yes.
I don't know. And then I think I already showed this what I kind of thought of as key scenes, and Star Trek had the first interracial kiss.
No, man,
interspecies kiss.
I'm pretty sure that's not the first interspecies kiss.
Yeah, except some Mexican science fiction movies.
I grew up in a weird part of North Carolina. I've seen some things.
On the screen.
Oh, okay.
I know you were a farmer. Did you have sheep?
He kissed a monkey.
Also in a G-rated movie.
That's nothing. Come see my cousin.
So ugly.
And then I want to mention this just because I think they deserve some credit. The children apes were little people, like that were in Wizard of Oz. This was what that's Jerry Marin on the right. On the left, and I've got their names here. On the left is Frank Delfino. Below them, with the black hat, is Billy Curtis from an episode of Gunsmoke.
Oh my gosh.
The guy to the left of him, I believe, is Harry Monty. That's kind of looking back over his shoulder. And then bottom left is Felix Sella, which we've talked about a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bill's interviewed him. We've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised they didn't have Billy Barty in there.
And then the bottom one is Buddy Douglas is the one on the bottom right. And I think that picture is from, what is the Ernest movie? Is it like Ernest Saves Christmas?
There's 5 or 10 of them.
It's an earnest Christmas movie, and he's got these 2 little people elves. And Buddy Douglas was one of them. And then
Boy, the things you find out on the DOH
Yeah.
podcast.
Jerry Marin was the guy. If you watch Wizard of Oz, he's the guy on the right of the Lollipop Guild.
Mhm. Is that the person on the top right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say I definitely recognize him for sure.
Most of these guys you recognize as being
Yeah.
in stuff. Felix Silla, Billy Curtis, Delfino, and Jerry Marin. I recognize. I can't always tell you exactly where I've seen him.
Mhm.
Billy Curtis is in High Plains Drifter. He's the guy that Clint Eastwood sets up as the new sheriff and mayor, and makes everybody kowtow to. And so here's a shot of, and the bottom picture is Heston with Felix Silla. The top one is just the other ones in their makeup. So Doc,
Yes.
what else do we have to talk about?
I think coming up on 2 hours, I think we've talked about enough. I think we've got it. We've
Oh my
covered quite a bit.
gosh.
There's so much more that we could get into, but I think we've got into quite enough.
This should have been episode 200.
Yeah.
We'll just renumber it and
There you go. There you go.
backtrack on the rest.
Save it. Save it.
Well,
No,
it didn't
this is-
feel like 2 hours.
This I think is one of the classic movies of my
Mhm.
growing up that I think
Yeah,
of in
so
terms of
good.
a modern movie. I saw all those 50s things on television in the early 60s, but this one I saw in the theaters. This one, Fantastic Voyage,
Mm.
Soylent Green, those all made a real big impression on me when I saw those at the theater.
Yeah, and this is much more a science fiction fantasy than it is horror.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's enough in here for me.
It's horror adjacent.
Yeah.
You'd be horrified if
Well, you could certainly make a
some damn
version of
steak
this.
and egg had its dirty paws on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like the Tim Burton movie as much as many people do, but I love the latest ones.
Yeah.
And
But
how many of those are there?
There's four. The Kingdom was the fourth one that came out this year.
Okay.
And I do love those too, but I still prefer this makeup.
Mhm.
I like this better than CGI
Uh-huh.
overall.
I hear the cat purring. Wow.
I thought my stomach was bubbling.
Well, it's a little past their feeding time, but
Wow.
they can
Yeah.
survive.
They're going to
Yeah.
start eating your toes. They're going to start eating your toes.
If we're done, we have a little bit of feedback.
Only a half hour's worth.
No. Like 3.
No.
Although one of them is pretty long. And it's not Jerry. So scroll down past the 200 trivia items.
I know. It's like,
Oh, there was so much info.
there's so much stuff we
Yeah.
could talk about. Too much. But I think we got a lot of stuff in.
Look at this one. Apes smell like wet dogs when they get rained on.
What?
Okay.
I'm just
Guys,
reading
are
them.
you down there now?
Well, I'm
No,
down there.
still scrolling. Good Lord.
Wait, Marlon Brando was considered to play Taylor? Wow. Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry,
about that.
still scrolling past the.
Jeff, you ought to be ashamed of
That's the
yourself
trivia.
putting all this in here.
I just copied it
that-
straight. I added a couple things at the beginning that had to do with Oscars and stuff. We did
I'm
mention
there.
the music by Gary Goldsmith, but that was the music was brilliant, I thought.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, we didn't talk about just a little bit about how great the music was.
Okay. First piece of feedback, episode 189, The Flesh and the Fiends, from Eleanor C. Anybody?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Eleanor C. This is an interesting movie. I watched The Doctor and the Devils about a year ago, so I was comparing these two movies while watching this one. Both have great casts, but I think I like this one better, except the ending. I agree with your collective opinion that the ending is too much of a happy end for the Doctor, and this I prefer the ending of The Doctor and the Devils, where he's also not punished, but the movie ends with him regretting his actions while being shunned by the public. By the way, if you want to see Billy Whitelaw in a bigger part, I recommend an anthology TV show from 1977 called Supernatural, where she stars in 2 episodes, Countess Ilona and the Werewolf Reunion.
Supernatural.
I will be looking those up.
All
I will be
right.
Not
looking
that,
those up.
not the one you think of, but another one. We'll have to go look that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Eleanor.
Thanks, Eleanor.
Thanks, Eleanor.
And I've tried to find that I Bury the Living and not I Bury the Living, I Bury the Dead and the Doctors and the Devils, and I was going to watch them, but I can't find them.
Mm.
Okay, episode 190, Indestructible Man, Mikey Z, Chad. I'll take that one.
Sure.
You're going to regret saying that.
Okay.
Okay.
Mikey Z says 300,000 volts of dick chasing.
Yeah.
What? I wasn't prepared for that. Stop.
First off, Jeff, be grateful you were called a stinking mouthpiece and not a stinking piece of something else. Just kidding, Mr. M. Hazel reference. Anyway, to the subject.
By the way, Don, I think his name was Don DeFore, who played
Mr. M.
Mr. M in Hazel. His brother was my algebra teacher in 8th grade.
Really?
All right, got that in. Had an Iowa reference.
Can we move on now?
Now you can move on.
Anyway, to the subject at hand. This film is one of my favorite Chaney films. I always like Man-Made Monster. An Indestructible Man, in my opinion, as discussed, is a semi-reboot of that 1940 Universal classic. I saw this as a kid on local TV as a midday offering. The fact that Butcher Benson could not be killed by conventional methods reminded me of how kids imagine the Frankenstein monster, a creature that cannot be killed, a role Chaney essayed 14 years earlier and a couple of years earlier on live TV.
Yes, he did.
The low budgetness shows through budgetness shows. Just read them how they're spelled. This movie had a low budget. Okay, shows through on this one. From the over narration to the killings of some of the antagonists to the lack of dialogue from Chaney, you wonder how much of the location filming were stolen shots, gained without the use of a permit, perhaps. Guys, remember that Chaney was always thought of as being a true professional by many of his peers, both in front of and behind the camera. Remember, it was around this time he had great roles in such non-genre films such as High Noon and The Defiant Ones. Really great roles and performances.
True. I think we defended his
Did we? Okay.
performances.
I wonder if the screaming woman in the credits might have been the young gal who was at the Carney with the Carney character when Butcher appears. Also, I guess we'll never find out. Also, like Chad referenced, the floozy at the bar reminded me of a similar character in Barfly, although that character was known for a specific talent not to be mentioned here.
Wait a minute. How can a
Let's
character
not.
in a 1956 movie remind you of something in Barfly? I'm just like one of the sleaziest. Anyway, appreciate the connection there, Mikey.
Okay. Now on to observations.
Lettered, just for your...
Lettered, for your pleasure. A, no one mentioned the iconic Bradbury building used in this film. There was a reason for that, Mikey. We were probably going on 2.5 hours.
Chad was sending me electronic jolts.
This was a location used in countless films, some being Double Indemnity, Marlowe, Chinatown, Lethal Weapon 4, Days of Summer, and The Artist.
How did we get from Chinatown to Lethal Weapon 4? That's so funny.
Anyway, B, how many films involve Chaney's character having electricity used upon him? Think Man-Made Monster, Ghost of Frankenstein, Tales of Frankenstein, Alligator Man, and Indestructible come to mind. I have a theory on this. Are we going to hear about it? Sure are. Some have rumored that Chaney would sometimes use electroshock therapy to help him with his alcohol issues. Maybe the writers of these films knew this and worked it into their stories without objection from their star. C. As a kid, if you watched The Adventures of Superman or McHale's Navy, who did not think of Inspector Henderson or Captain Binghamton every time you see either on screen? These are rhetorical questions. You guys shut up.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
D. Also, that close-up shot of Butcher's eyes presaged Sergio Leone by a few years. Chaney could definitely could have played the ugly. That didn't sound right. Did I read it right?
In the good and the bad and the ugly.
The E part of the observation regarding the makeup on Chaney post flamethrower. I can't believe we're at the part where we say Chaney post flamethrower. I wonder if Chaney himself might have done it himself. When he was going to be in 1 million BC, it was said he created his own makeup, and there are photos of his attempt, but I was told that due to union rules, he could not do it. I wager he did not do it. It looked too good. Now, F, as in fun. Finally, dad pun, no one commented that this film came out just when the shock theater package was sold to TV stations. Yeah, Jeff, what the hell's wrong with you?
I don't know.
Jeez.
Don't
ask for much around here. But
Todd was shooting Chad was shooting daggers at me through the screen.
Great podcast, guys. Going to be shameless and ask that if you ever do Man-Made Monster, please keep me in mind. Either way, I know it will be shockingly good. Love you guys.
I like that it says mad monster is even funnier. But
I almost read it that way too, but just think of all the credits you guys have amassed doing the various DOH podcasts.
It's insane. It's kind of insane to think about. On the walls.
Or as Chad says, all the minutes of my life I can't get back.
hours, days.
I'll be on my deathbed, like I always say, and somewhere I'll go, remember that long ass letter Mikey wrote? I wish I had that time back.
We love you, Mikey. We don't give you crap unless we love you. And finally, Doctor from Jose. Indestructible Man.
He says, I have not seen what's hey. I have not seen this one. It gets confused with Man-Made Monster as well. Yes, Jeff, maybe you are thinking of that. Okay, we're good. English is a rough language.
I left the easy one for you.
I know, and I'm just stumbling all over it. Maybe you're thinking of the Magnetic Monster from 1953, a fine little low-budget film from Ivor Tours with an interesting premise of an isotope that doubles its size every 11 hours by converting energy into matter, thus growing bigger and bigger. I don't know if it's streaming. I have the Blu-ray, which is out of print now, and it goes for, wait for it, stupid money.
That's right up Jose's alley, too, because he's the one that chose the H-Men for for his guest spot. So, yeah.
Chaney had a way of channeling his energy into meaty, over-the-top performances around this time, like in Alligator People and The Cyclops. He always looks like he's having a ball, and it tends to boost any film in which he appears, no matter how tacky. I agree. Meaty.
Meaty, sweaty.
Well,
Well, he does. He is.
I appreciate you, Jose, coming back with the stupid.
Oh, now Jeff wants to cut everybody off. Why did you cut me off when I started to do Mikey's letter?
I didn't cut anybody off.
What?
Who did I cut off? What?
What?
I'm missing something.
Huh?
As usual.
Anyway,
All right.
let's kill this horse.
We appreciate everybody's comments. Keep them coming. You can comment on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can send emails to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com. We love them and we read all of them.
Yes, please.
Even if you say rude things and make fun of us.
Especially if you do that.
I would suggest don't do that.
So thanks, Mikey and Jose and Eleanor. All right. That's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1920 and 1969. Next up is one chosen by me. And it's one of my all-time favorite titles. Kiss Me Deadly.
Kiss me once. Kiss me twice.
1955. It is a science
Kiss me dead.
fiction, horror, film noir, thriller, etc. Directed by Robert Aldrich, starring Ralph Meeker. The female lead is Marion Carr. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Yes,
Absolutely
it does.
not.
Yes, it
Indestructible
does.
Man.
Yes. Okay.
Indestructible
Thank
Man.
you.
And
I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Much less.
Marjorie Bennett, who was supposedly the floozy at the bar at Indestructible
Really?
Man, although I'm not sure I believe that. I think that might be I looked everywhere trying to find info on it, and I couldn't find a disprove or prove. Robert Cornthwaite is in this. Jack Elam is in this.
You want me to start the examination right away, JJ?
Anyway, so stay tuned for that one. And that is currently available on the classic science fiction movie channel. It's cool. You're going to see stuff. If you guys haven't seen this, you're going to see stuff and you're going to go, oh, that's where they got that. So anyway.
Okay.
Isn't this such a chef pick?
It's based on a Mickey Spillane.
It is.
It's straight up chef pick.
It is.
Oh,
Straight
Cloris
up.
Leachman is in it. Yay.
Oh, it's amazing. Lots of people, lots of small parts.
We'll be the judge of that.
I'm trying to find how I end here. Okay,
What was the name in the
everybody.
Frankenstein?
Oh,
Frau
yeah.
Brugger.
I think we ended quite some time ago. It's just now we're in purgatory.
This is what happens. Oh my
Swimming
God.
in the mud.
This is getting to be a habit. We got to stop this. But this was a special one. You can't, we can talk forever on this movie. So anyway.
Good. There's so much more to say.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. We're on schedule
Hey.
Hey.
for one day. And I appreciate it. And thanks to all the Grue believers out there.
Yay.
Yes, thank you for the feedback, everybody.
Yes.
Yes. And say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.